left me behind, then maybe, just maybe, he'd still be alive. "Stop that," I muttered, placing my breakfast sandwich on the passenger seat so I could swipe at the stray tear trailing down my cheek. My fingers left a greasy streak across my skin as I wiped away the drop of moisture, and I blinked back the rest of my tears. It wouldn't do to arrive at my new precinct looking as if I'd just finished watching Titanic or something. If I showed up looking like a pitiful damsel in distress, they'd put me on traffic duty, which was not what I wanted. I wasn't going to Salem to get away from Chicago or the specter of my dead fiance. I was going to find out what had happened to him, and why. I'd been told the motel room he'd been staying in had caught fire and that no evidence had survived the blaze, but that wasn't good enough. I was going to hunt down the truth, and when I found out who killed my fiance, I would make sure they were brought to justice. I still didn't understand how Tom could be gone. My fiance wasn't a weakling. He'd gone up against his fair share of vampires, just like me. Whoever killed him had to be at least as strong as a vamp, but possibly even stronger. Somehow. The best place to start would be with finding Salem's supernatural pulse. Sighing, I took in the world outside my window, hoping its beauty would temporarily relieve me from my dark memories. The early fall hillsides were bursting with color from the turning oak and maple leaves that surrounded me from either side of the highway, as well as the rolling hills up ahead. The wind caught at my silver curls, tugging them free from their pins so that the strands whipped around my face. How was my new precinct going to react to that? My mercury-colored hair always drew strange looks, though no one really ever said anything about it by the time I'd graduated grade school. As a freshman, they'd teased me for having the hair of an old lady and strange lavender blue eyes, but I'd shown them I wasn't afraid to sock them in their teeth, and they'd kept their mouths shut after that. Adults, on the other hand, knew better than to say anything in the first place, at least most of them. But that didn't mean I wouldn't be subject to their stares, and I would walk around knowing that they were dying to ask me about my unusual coloring. Strange how, as an adult, I almost missed the forthrightness of the peers from my childhood. Letting out a contented sigh, I tilted my head, enjoying the nip of winter that kissed my cheeks. I'd been born in Nevada, or so Oscar told me, but after being raised in Chicago, I was a winter girl through and through. I loved the cold weather, and I was looking forward to the snowfall in a more rural area instead of watching it get stomped to a muddy slush in the big city. Just as I was passing the sign for Wakefield, I caught sight of a woman kneeling next to a beat-up Crown Victoria, struggling to change a flat tire. It was still daylight, but sunset streaked the sky with brilliant reds and golds, and I didn't feel right about leaving her alone on the highway when I knew night would fall soon. So I pulled over to the shoulder, parked my car at a respectable distance behind hers, then went over to help. "Hey there," I said with a friendly smile. "Need a hand?" "Oh, yes, please," the woman cried, a southern twang evident in her voice as she flashed me a grateful, if harried, smile. She looked to be in her 30s, wearing a plain white t-shirt and faded jeans, and her dark brown hair was pulled back into a messy bun that was halfway unraveled by the wind. Frustration sparked in her brown eyes as she glared at the wrench, which didn't seem to be cooperating with her efforts to unscrew the bolts on the tire. "I know I should be able to use a wrench at my age, but I can't get this to work." "No worries," I said, kneeling beside her. "I've changed a few of these in my time." I took the wrench from her, then set to work on the first rusty bolt. "Ugh," I grunted. "No wonder you're having trouble. This thing doesn't want to give." Truthfully, it wasn't hard to remove the bolts, even if they were rusty, but I played it up because I could tell she was embarrassed that another woman, a younger woman, was doing this for her. As a cop, I was pretty good at reading emotions, and I could tell by the strain behind her smile and the way she fidgeted that she was a little uncomfortable about the situation. Judging by the lack of a ring on her finger and the fresh-looking Salem High School bumper sticker on the back of her car, I figured she was a single mother and likely prided herself on being independent. "So you're from Salem, are you?" I asked. "Not a native, but I've lived there a few years now." The woman relaxed a little, comfortable with the idea of conversing over sitting around and watching me work. "It's a nice town." "That's great to hear. I'm actually moving there." "Are you really?"